Let's just put on recording. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our chapters virtual learning series. Today we have two speakers, Tijani Mukthar, Tijani Olatunji. We knew him as Tijani Mukthar. It's like he has rebranded his name now. And Mikail Adekunle, both of 98 sets. They're here to talk about startups versus small businesses, funding options, and how you can prepare your businesses for them. So I will just give the floor to the first speaker now, which, without much ado. Tijani Mukthar, introduce yourself and you can begin your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Davel. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us. Good afternoon, everyone. Good day, everyone. Senior ExJAMs, senior ExJAW, my classmates, the ex-jam and jaw, my classmates, and the junior ones. Good day to everyone. Yes, so we are going to speak a whole lot on startups versus small businesses, funding options and preparations for them. But however, it is I thought, and then when I spoke to Mikail, we thought it was very imperative for us to look into some prerequisites before we go further into speaking about funding options and all of that. Dear President, before you go, the last meeting we had, the last lecture series we had, was the setup was in such a way that the speaker was speaking, and then afterwards there was Q&A. Is that still the same pattern we are going to follow?
Yes, please.
Okay, then. Sometimes I really used to prefer interactive sessions, but let's follow. Let's
no. Go ahead. If you can keep it interactive, if that's
okay,
your.
so this is what I'm going to do. So this is what I'm going to do. If I receive any question, if I see any hands up, please check for any hands that are coming up, and then I can quickly attend to any of the questions. I will do so. And otherwise, I'll push it towards the end of the program. So, however, I specifically chose to speak about design thinking. A lot of us are product guys. A lot of us are into we are entrepreneurs. While we are still hovering around we are still shining our lights on the whole entrepreneurship level and all of that. We have to start thinking about things like deep thinking, and then how we have to prepare ourselves before we even get to the table. We start requesting for funding. My name is Tijani Mukthar Olatunji. I've been a seasoned technology solutions provider for over 10 years. I have built solutions in different industries, most especially tech solutions. I've been able to deliver successful tech platforms in the fintech industry, in the agrotech industry, and the most recent ones, which we are working on right about now. But however, let me not bore us with all those things about me. Let's just go straight into what we want to talk about. We want to speak about design thinking, the overview, design thinking, components of a pitch, which is going to prepare us to, to attract and to bring in things that are required for the successful development of our various businesses, be it a business, be it a personal branding that we need to put out there. We are also going to talk about how we identify the various types of pitch so that we'll be very, very prepared when we find ourselves in those places. Objectives for design thinking, we have to understand the process from idea. You have an idea to the point where you have a product market fit. That means you have an idea to the point where that your product is ready to hit the market. A lot of us have idea and we do a whole lot of mistakes. What we do is we think we have an idea. We think, oh yeah, we want to deploy. For the people that are into the various businesses, all we think is, oh, We need to start selling these things that we need to sell so that we start making profits. We need to understand that as seasoned entrepreneurs, we have to follow the due processes that will enable us create a profitable venture at the end of the day. We also have to understand design thinking itself in totality. We have to understand the importance of idea verification. When you have that idea, how you verify it, how you have to the steps that you are going to take, quick steps that you are going to take. I know I don't have more than 30 minutes, so we'll just be very quick about it. However, subsequently, when we need to get some things, when we need to move on, we can now discuss on the back channel. We're also going to, another objective that we will look at is the components of pitch, and then we have to identify the various pitch, like I said earlier. Now, design thinking. During product development and the product life cycle, there are different stages that are involved. Like I said, I'm going to be using different examples as we move on. I could use the field where I am in because I am very versatile in that. So let me start by using the tech field where we are in. We want to build a product. Now, let me give an example of a solution. We want to build a product for market people, market women, for instance, for market women that are located in Abuja. The first thing that we need to do is for us to understand that there's a need for that thing. You don't need to go and sell pure water where people are drinking bottled water. There is no need. There's a need for water. There's a difference between those two things. There's a need for water, and there's a need for water, but there's no need for pure water. There's need for bottled water. We have to understand exactly what our market need is. And by doing that, we go to the next stage where we have to quantify the need. Now, if you want to be a successful business person, you are living in Wuse 2, and you are thinking about things, you are thinking about solutions, you are thinking about products. And when I mean products, in the case of this lecture series, I am referring to both products and services. So let's have that at the back of our minds. So we need to also quantify the need of what is the problem, the solution that we think is needed in the market. When we do that, then we conceptualize that need, that product, the product that we want to put outside. You have it at the back of your mind. Oh, okay, people in Pape, they lack water. Okay, how do I'm an entrepreneur. I want to generate sales for myself, and I want to create value. I want to give a proper value proposition for the people that are around there. Now, there has to be a product, there has to be a market. Now, while we are conceptualizing that product, we have to always think about it. You see, these few things that I put on, these few key points, I have specifically, when I asked my personal assistant, ChatGPT, to look up some of these things for me, I also, by best practice experience, I was able to follow through to understand that the way ChatGPT lined it up for me is the exact thing that we've been using in the field when we are developing products. So when we conceptualize products, you want to understand that, okay, you need to set up a situation where you are creating proper service. Service delivery is very important. So while you are creating that proper service, that's the point where we call it conceptualization. Then you validate that solution. Do the people really need it? Or it is you that think that they are looking for water? These steps, I can share this slide with anybody that needs it at the end of the day. And we can also help, since it's an ExJAM situation, we can also help anybody interested in building their solutions, in giving advices to each and everyone that's in need of it. Then it is also very important that we build a roadmap. We have to set goals. you set deliverables and then timelines. There's no way for, if you're a serious entrepreneur, there's no way that you are going to be saying that you want to do something, and then you don't have timelines, you don't have goals, and you don't have deliverables. All of these things are things that by the time we go on before we finish this lecture series, we will understand and we'll shed more light to it. Then when we build our roadmap, we develop the products. At that point in time, you've already conceptualized your product, you've quantified the need, and you understand that there's a market need. Then when you build your product, you release it to the users. Then you don't stop there. You go for feedback, you go for review. However, it is very important for me to also note this. This lecture series is I remember the Quran says that it said something, either the Quran or the Hadith. I'm not so much of a religious person, but it says that there was a prayer that says, "You will remind God, Almighty Allah should remind us of what we forget and teach us what we don't know." So I want us to have it at the back of our mind that this lecture series is a reminder for a lot of us who are already experienced entrepreneurs and a teacher for the people that are just getting into the field, because I understand that there are senior exams, there are experienced people in here, there are people that have been doing businesses for quite some time. So we really need to get that point straight. But it is knowledge like this over time is good for us to keep sharing between ourselves. So idea validation is the process of testing and validating idea to launch a business name, a tagline, a product, be it a website, be it a service, be it whatever it is. Then, for you to be able to validate that idea, you have to look into different things, which I put down some key points. The number one key point I put down here is a customer problem fit. A customer problem fit is nothing more than you understanding that there is a problem. The only thing that people that make money do is that they realize that there's a problem and then there's a viable way which they can solve that problem. So having that problem and knowing the problem exists and having the customers, that are they going to buy it? Have you been able to ascertain the fact that you feel that this problem is there? That is one very important step a whole lot of us solution providers do. A very big mistake. The problem is there. The customers are there. Are you sure that the customers now are going to pay for it such that it is going to become a profitable venture for you, who is the solution provider, who is the entrepreneur, who is the businessman, or who is the brand person? Are they going to pay for it? So you understanding the concept of the customer problem fit is just exactly what it is. Then there's another one. The second one is problem solution fit. That problem is your solution, the solution that you are validating. Is it going to solve that problem, or it is you that just thinks, oh, okay, because I am a programmer, or I'm a transporter. Should I just go and buy cars and put on the road and feel that, oh, because the people on the road that are going back to their faraway destinations working in the FCT, are they actually in need of you or in need of coastal buses? Or you think it is when you just go and buy coastal buses and you put on the road, you put in a driver and you think you are solving a solution? It is very, very important for you to understand that the solution that you think you are creating for that problem, there has to be a perfect fit. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you are going to have a burnout. And then that's one of the reasons why you see different startups, and then entrepreneurs, they get burnt out. At the end of the day, they get out of the market. Then also the product market fit. The market is always, if you feel the market is available, is the product, is it going to be paid for by the market that you feel is available? These idea validation processes, like I said, are very, very important for you to be able to design a product or a service, like I said. Now, so I just put down some points about unit economics, which is for you to demonstrate how much value each item the smallest value that you are going to give. The reason why I put that there is for you to, when we start talking about a minimum viable product, the minimum viable product unit economics will make us understand how profitable minimum viable product should be. There's one thing I used to use for Expo anytime an idea comes to my mind. As an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years, like I said. A lean canvas. I started working on I came across a lean canvas template years ago. And then I realized that it was like an expo for anybody who is looking to build and to deliver solutions. Now, this is the template, which is the template of the lean canvas, and I'll show you what I put down years ago. This is a field version of our company Solution Plus, which one of our products which we built was Solution Med. Solution Med was a product that was delivering, that was catering to healthcare facilities. And then this lean canvas, as you can see, has the ability to give you the general scope of a business in one sheet. We can use it as an expo. So when you have a sheet, instead of you carrying lots of papers around, if you have a sheet and you keep looking at this, for some of us who are project managers, we have this sheet where we have everything a project manager does, one sheet from A to Z. That's about the same thing that happens, that deals with the lean canvas. If you are a tailor, if you're a fashion designer, whatever field you find yourself in, try as much as possible to use the lean canvas and read it often. It's going to shed more light. Like you can see, it has entries such as the problem, the solution, the unique value proposition. Why, if you want to make it, if you are going to become a profitable venture, what is it that you are selling differently than other people don't? Otherwise, you are going to become like other people. Unfair advantage, customer segmentation. Are there existing alternatives? If they are, yes, how are you going to match? How are you going to be profitable? Key metrics, high level concepts. Okay, how are you going to market your products? Early adopters, revenue stream. What's going to be the different revenue streams you are going to have? Cost structure, the things that you are going to use to set up your business. Please let us try as much as possible to inculcate some of these tools. Tools are very important in entrepreneurship. Let's try as much as possible to inculcate them into our daily activities while we build our brand and our products. Yes, so design thinking again. I am looking at this template we usually use for you to the different steps in design thinking. You want to design a product, you want to create a business. First of all, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the customers that are looking at that you want to create the solution for. You design the product, then you define it. You say, oh, this is exactly what you want to do. Then you create the idea. You bring the idea together. When you bring the idea together, then you build a prototype. Building a prototype, all of this applies in every sphere, every levels of entrepreneurship, regardless of what you're doing. What example did I use? Okay, let me go back to the fashion design. I know a couple of people are inside the room that are designers. You want to sew dashiki, you have to go and understand, put yourself in the shoes of the customers. If your products are going to be expensive, you yourself, are you going to buy it? Have you gone out there to understand what the market is, what the people are going to be doing? That is for you to empathize. Then you define what you want to do. You define the product, your ideas, then prototype. Then you build your prototype, you send it out there, you start testing. So that is for design thinking. I am trying as much as possible to be as fast because I have just 30 minutes. So I'm just going to jump right into the next one, which is the art of pitching. For the art of pitching, I brought up different components. Now, we spoke about um, what did we speak? We spoke about design thinking. Then when you think about what you want to do, you move to the next phase, which is readiness. I remember a time there was a business I had. I met one guy, um, but I was very lucky because I always prepared myself. I used to tell people, I said, prepare yourself for every levels of investments. You can meet somebody that wants to invest 1 million naira. You should have a kind of pitch that you're going to give to that person. You should have, sometimes, if you're a business person, if you're a business developer, you should have different levels of business. Always be ready for pitching. If your business entails you to raise 20 million naira first before you raise 100 million naira, it is very important for you to have different levels of pitches. So that is what brought us to looking at the components of a pitch deck. A typical pitch deck contains the following items that I listed here. You should have an introduction. That introduction usually it could be an icebreaker, like they always say. I remember one time I was pitching to some international organizations, and then it was as simple as ABC. My icebreaker was just me driving to Garki Hospital, and I took a picture of old women that were lying on the chair and they were queuing, and then I put it in front. By the time you see it, put that kind of thing in front of your pitch deck, a lot of people are going to be, you are going to catch their attention. If you do not catch the attention of a rich man from your first two sentences, I mean, you've lost an investor. So you have to ensure that your introduction is there. Then you have a problem statement. There are the next level important things are problem statements. And then the solution. People don't have water. You realize that there's no water in a particular place. The next thing you are going to do is to find a way to either dig a borehole or you start supplying them water. Then that is the solution. I remember I mentioned to somebody who called herself a seasoned entrepreneur, and then she was in an environment. One of the reasons why I am using the water situation as an example is because it keeps ringing in my head that she was saying she was an entrepreneur and she lived in Pape, but she does not know how to make money. And I told her, I said, in Pape, do you guys have how do you get water? She said, we always go to Malam's place to go and buy water. I said, okay, if you can raise some funding, go and meet a company, collaborate. That's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. You don't have to have all the money in the world before you be able to set up a successful business. Collaborations, partnerships, ideas are very key components of becoming an entrepreneur. I said, go and create a business where you can be supplying water to people every week. Then you go and get the supply from the company. You be the middleman that takes the water to their houses, and then you be in money. It's as simple as that. There was a problem, there's a solution. A lot of people around that place would not even also want to go out. Maybe half the population. That is one of the reasons why I specifically put and I mentioned about quantifying the need of what you need to do. Now, let me quickly round up that story before I continue on the components of this pitch deck. Now, I told her that if you are able to deliver that water to different houses, you are going to be having so much profit. And that is a very populated area. Now, in a very short period of time, you start building the warehouse. And then she started thinking about it. And then she went back. And then last I checked, she was already building, she was setting up a store, and then she was venturing into other different small businesses. Yes, and that was because the market opportunity was there, which is the next key thing I'm going to speak about. So you have to understand the market opportunity. You know that people need the things that you are going to be providing for them as a solution. Then you have to look at your business model. How do you handle your business model? The business model that I suggested, I mean, of course, I am not the number one business person in the world, but I suggested something to her, and I mentioned that she can create a sort of credit facility. So that means every house you go and drop 2 bags of water. Then you will come back next week with another 2 bags of water. That is the business model. The business model can be business to business, it can be business to government, it can be. I personally, I am the head of operations of a company that majority of our projects are business to government, while we digitize healthcare facilities. So you understand your business model while you are talking to somebody about a pitch deck that you are pitching to them. Then if there are any tractions are very important. You are supposed to use your tractions as a bragging right. For instance, you go and tell somebody, I've sold three tons of water in so area. I've sold 57 houses. I'm a real estate person. I've sold 57 houses in Gutape, 100 houses in this thing. The people are going to, they will have some amount of confidence in doing business with you. So tractions are also very important. If you have been able to build traction, that's why I put it as if any. Then you have to put your competitors' analysis in a pitch deck. If you do not put your competitors' analysis or you do not understand the concept, and the person you are pitching to ask you says, how much, what about your competitors? How are you handling them? It is very important for you to always put your competitors on their toes, and then so that they do not necessarily have to catch you unawares. Then marketing and sales strategy. Put all of these things into your pitch deck, but also remember that while you are creating your pitch deck, it is very important for you to make your points as precise as possible, because nobody has time you would not bring a pitch deck. Let's say I'm a billionaire, for instance, which I'll soon be. You now bring a pitch deck to me and with too many English, I'm going to just look at it. I'll just shift it aside. So make your points very precise so that depending on the kind of pitching that you're doing, either it's a Twitter pitch, well, we used to call it a Twitter pitch. I don't know what we're going to be calling it now, X pitch or whatever it is. Or if it is a sales pitch, if it is an investor pitch, if it's an elevator pitch, you ensure that all the points that are listed here and these components they are very precise. The team, if you don't have a team, you don't have anything. Only you are not supposed to be the center of the universe. So you should have a team. The team is part of the things that makes, especially when it comes to big figures investments. If you are looking at setting up platforms that will take transactions, if you are looking at setting up a fast food restaurant that people will need to go and buy food from and put your food in their tummy, you need to have a very good quality assurance person. All of these things, if you look at them strategically, you will understand that they are all very important components. Failure to look into them are the reasons why a lot of businesses fail. Because if you cross your T's and dot every I's that are available, you will understand that you are going to be mitigating a whole lot of risk. Now, then you put your financial projections, and then you understand that while you are also pitching, there has to be an ask. You tell the person that you are pitching to that, okay, so we are looking for so thing, and this thing will help us be able to roll to the next level, will help us with market expansion and all those kind of things. Now, quickly, let me quickly speak about the different types of pitch we have. But however, I'm just going to speak about the two brief ones: elevator pitch, which are the first level engagement you're supposed to be having with stakeholders. Um, an elevator pitch, of course, which some of us might know, is just that kind of pitch that, oh, okay, I'm running, you are meeting me up in the car park, and then and then you have 30 seconds to say something. Maybe you're selling human hair, and then you can quickly in 30 seconds tell me that your human hair has the ability to shed people off, a bit to um, shift sun away from my, a bit to shield my shoulders from the sun, and then you go on and on that, oh, okay, you are getting your human hair from Dubai, or you are, so you have to be very precise so you don't waste anybody's time. And then an elevator pitch uh, usually lasts for about 30 seconds, there about 30 seconds to 45 seconds. So, and I'm going to quickly show an elevator pitch that I typed right now before this session started. Then a Twitter pitch is just that pitch that you are going to, just like the tweets. I'm not much of a Twitter person, but when you say a Twitter page, you want to text somebody an idea. You want to tell them that this idea, this is what we came through, and then you have to do that within the confines of a very short text message. Or so that's why they call it a Twitter page. Investors page, sales page, and product page are a bit more detailed. And for the sake of time, I will not be able to look into to discuss that, except for people that really want to look into it. Then we can decide. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let us ensure that we carry out due diligence before we jump into any business, so that we will not, we will not be losing money, or we will not be investing wrongly. This is something I typed as an example of a Twitter page. So I said Solution Plus, which is I'm a co-founder on Solution Plus. I said for the Twitter page, I said Solution Plus partners with healthcare facilities. Now I'm mentioning ourselves, I'm mentioning the process, with healthcare facilities to digitize and provide technology solutions for hospitals while creating patient-centered healthcare delivery and generating revenue for stakeholders. That is what the Twitter page should be like. I'm not saying that what I just typed down now is perfect. No, that's not what I'm saying. But try as much as possible to be precise. Quickly say it. Drop all the points necessary. Then the elevator pitch is a bit longer. You have things like saying, oh, okay, you want to quickly talk to somebody, you meet somebody in the elevator, you say, oh, sir, good afternoon, you're on the 5th floor, you are going down to, I mean, you're on the 15th floor, you are going down to the ground floor. You say, sir, and you have 30 seconds. What are you going to say? Try as much as possible. The elevator pitch is different. It is very good for you to just write this thing down somewhere and be memorizing them, so that when you are brought and you are put in the for example, if you see a venture capitalist, for instance, you might just see the person somewhere that you wouldn't have the opportunity to see the person again. So my elevator pitch that I put down for Solution Plus goes like this. My company, Solution Plus, partners with healthcare facilities to provide management solutions and portals for patients. Now, I'm mentioning the stakeholders, the patients, the healthcare facilities, and Solution Plus. These are the stakeholders that I'm putting in one circle, while making patients, such as our senior citizens, the center of healthcare delivery. Now, by the time you start hearing senior citizens, you're already figuring out that, oh, okay, these people are solving a whole lot of problems. Oh, maybe you go to UCH in Ibadan. There are too many old people out there that are just lying on the floor waiting for doctors and all of those things. And then I went further to say that people love to have, they love to understand that whatever they're investing in will make them money, right? Then I went further to say that we compete in the health tech solutions market, which will hit $5 billion in Nigeria alone by the year ending 2023. That is prospect. I went further to say we currently are in over 40% of the facilities in Nigeria, and we are rapidly expanding. That is for business growth. We are looking for 200 million naira to expand, to help us expand faster to ensure market acquisition, right? And then I said, if you would like to discuss further, action plan. After that, after you've said something to somebody, then there should be an action plan. If you'd like to discuss further, I will be glad to share my information with you to follow up and create stakeholders engagement session as fast as possible. Very important for you to have all of those things and keep them at the back of your hand and inside your head so that you will not fumble when the time comes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me. My name is Mukthar Tijani again, and I'm going to take questions, or my president, am I supposed to take questions now, or my village man is going to get on the platform and then
I think you can take your questions. Just take your questions so that.
Okay, so if there are any questions, I see Mr. Tosia. Mr. Tosia, please, you can come on.
Good day, all. Tijani, thank you very much. That was very, very enlightening. I would want to maybe add an additional point that sometimes I see, because during my work, in the course of my work, I sometimes come across pitches for investments, right? And then there's something I see a bit missing from from entrepreneurs' point of view, right. And that is the aspect of the economics of the business you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So if you are trying to sell water, for example, there's, even in the market for water, there's different markets, right? There's market for high-end water, there's market for low-end water. So retail pricing of water, pure water would be low-end water, right? High-end water would be some sparkling water that comes from the Mount Fiji and goes through some process that only rich people can afford to buy it at $1,000 per bottle. You understand?
That's right. Yeah.
So when you are doing, when you have an idea, you want to come up with a business, you want to, set it up, you have to look at the economics of that service, that product, right? And then identify where you will play in that. For the retail person, his costs are low, his economics of scale is higher, such that it costs him pretty much around the same amount of money to produce 10 bags as to produce 10,000 bags, right? And his markup, is very low. But because he's hoping to do a volume gain, so the more he sells, the more he makes, Whereas the person who is in the high end, his cost per item is high. So for every $1,000 that he charges per bottle, he could be using as much as $400 to $600, right, to produce that bottle, to brand it, to market it, to ship it to the different places he wants his clients go. You understand? So because they're two separate instances inside the same product, you need to understand that portion of economics and which portion you play. And I think you said something about in pitches, you have to always study and understand your competition in the space. That is a very important part of when you're coming with your business idea. You need to know who exists in the space. What do they do? What is their value proposition? Why are they your competitors in the space? Maybe you want to start a business that already exists. So these guys already have the market share, right? Say you want to start producing cement in Nigeria. You'd be stupid not to understand Dangote and Boa Cement's role in that space, right? Because they have the market share. You need to understand the kind of business they run and their kind of business practices. So, for example, Dangote is an oligopoly or monopoly kind of person. He likes to control the market he operates in. So, unless you are aware that that is the kind of market you're going into, and despite that, you still see opportunities for your small boutique business to make sense, to make money in that field, it will be stupid of you to just go and think you have the best product. Your cement can be the best. Maybe it's 1 bag or 3 bags that they use to build the house. You don't know the science behind it, but your cement is magic cement. But if you don't understand the competitors in that space, you will start that business and then you will see traction and you'll be wondering why. Do you understand? You have to also understand brand loyalty. People that already patronize businesses like that. Why do they patronize that business? For example, you can come up with, no matter how delicious, you come up with a new type of noodles today. When you put it to the market, people are still going to tell the retail seller that they want to buy Indomie. Indomie is not the name of the product. It's the name of a brand, one company's brand, but it has brand loyalty over its competitors in the space. So if you want to come up to me now with a pitch and say you want to do noodles, the very first question is, how are you going to stand your noodles out from Indomie? You understand? So those are the kind of things that we should be able to we should have at the back of our minds and ensure that they're in our pitch deck. Sorry, I think I took too much time, but that's just my contribution. Thanks.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Thank you. Yes, though of course those points are very, very valid. Yes, so and then I would have thought that I mentioned a couple of them. Yeah, but of course reinforcements too is perfect. So yes, thank you very much. Any other questions, please, from the house?
Okay, if I have no questions, then I will assume everybody understands. So you are waiting for the second person to present. So let's not waste too much time. Please go ahead, Mikail. You can just introduce yourself and start your presentation. If there are any more questions, just write them down. At the end of Mikail's presentation, you can make your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, TJ, for that wonderful presentation. Let me start sharing my screen. Oh, before that, let me show you all that I'm representing Dunia Squadron. Okay. Let's start from here. Can everyone see my screen, please?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great, thank you. So I will be taking a different, slightly different approach from how Tijani presented his own presentation. So first and foremost, welcome everyone. My name is Mikail. I used to be a Dunia Squadron boy, and right now I'm currently an investor. I work with VCs as well as a startup consultant. And today's presentation, really, mine is going to focus more on the funding options and how to prepare for them. TJ kind of went through mostly the product and the business phase and some of the things that are required. For the table of content, we'll be kicking off with, first and foremost, what are the economic values of startups? And the reason I'm starting off with this is just to show us why all of this conversation is kind of important for us to start thinking about right now, especially for some of us are thinking about entrepreneurship or those who are thinking about starting something different in life and all of that. Then the next thing will be to kind of differentiate between startup and small businesses. Now, the reason this is very key because in recent times, since I started working with the investors and startups, there has been a big misconception between what a small business is and what a startup is. And this is key because it will determine who, where, when, and how much funding you get. And we will talk a little bit about that. Then we'll go again, and then we'll go on to talk about some of the ideas, how to come up with an idea, and then the case for funding, sources, and then we'll be ending up with another example or, an economic value of what small businesses are to us. Okay. So quick brief about myself. Well, we all know I went to Air Force Military School, and then I have a bunch of qualifications. I have 3 master's degree, 1 ongoing. I have no idea why I have 3 master's degree, but well, I think it's good one way or the other.
You like book?
No, if I like book, I would have done PhD, but it's like I'm staying away from PhD by all means. So I have a first degree in engineering physics and a minor component in economics, master's in technology management, which ties into startup system and then engineering. I'm currently doing my global executive MBA with Kellogg and a school in Germany called VIAHO. So with this particular program, you get to travel around the world, different countries, and then get to learn how businesses, startups, funding, and all those things happen in other parts of the world, which is really, really good. Then for my career background, I've been an engineer, I've been in sales, consulting, and like I said, right now I'm in the startup and all that stuff. Okay, so without much ado, like I said, I wanted to kick off with an example of why this is all important. Now, in the US, as of today, startups. Okay, so in the drawing you see where I said VC backed or non-VC backed. VC backed just means it is a startup, because VCs are the venture capitals are the ones who kind of give startups money to, to do what they do. So in the US, startups actually account for 41% of their market capitalization. That's the entire company on the US stock market. About 41% of them were startup at some point in time. So you're talking about companies like Google, Amazon, Uber, and the likes. Now, in terms of R&D, 62% of startups account for R&D. R&D, that's research and development and all those kind of things in the US. Now, these two first graphs on the left buttresses why the startup ecosystem is quite important. Now, does anybody have an idea of what percentage of the Nigerian stock market is represented by startup companies? Anybody? Can anybody, guess? Hello, guys. Hello, together?
I would say 35%.
35%.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good guess, but the answer is actually 0. So as of today, there is no VC-backed company on the Nigerian stock market. No company that came up as a startup is currently listed on the Nigerian stock market as of today. We have Flutterwave, we have Andela, we have Jumia. They're all big companies, but they are not listed on the Nigerian stock market. And you can see the contrast between Nigeria and the US. This should kind of start painting the picture for most of us about, the opportunities or the gaps and the lapses between developed countries and where we find ourselves today in Nigeria. So again, if we had more big companies like Google, Ubers, and the rest in our stock market or in our country or coming from our country, then we will be able to create more employment, generate more revenue, more, foreign investment and all those kind of things. So now moving straight into the differences or differentiating between a startup and a small business. Now, in a nutshell, a small business is typically independently owned. That means maybe like the example that Tijani gave, a woman who owns a pure water sales business. That is a small business. Typically, she will be selling to maybe her community, maybe in Kubwa or like immediate environment or something like that. And then she wants to basically keep selling and making her stable income for however long she can do that. Now, for startup, it's a different ball game. These are typically new companies or new ideas that want to quickly expand. They want to conquer the world. They want to just, get like millions or billions of customers if and when they can. Now, in terms of more differentiation between, startups and small businesses, for the growth aspect, like I said earlier, startups want to conquer the world. They want to shake up industries, just like how Uber, was able to disrupt the taxi industry. That is what they want to do. They are taking big risks. They want to do, crazy things. But small businesses, you just want to do something small, make money in your locality. Now, in terms of profitability, startups are typically not profitable at the get-go because they need initial capital, research, and all those things. So it takes a little bit of time before they start making profit. Now, for small businesses, you can start making profit almost the same day you go and buy that pure water and start selling it. Now, in terms of end visions, for startups, they typically either get acquired by a bigger company or they go public when they eventually become really big. So recently, I believe Flutterwave was in the news for saying they want to get listed on the stock market. So this is typically how startups, end up, end up getting. So they either go public or they get acquired by a different company, or maybe a private equity company comes to buy them out. Now, for small businesses, it is self-sustaining. You want to just keep it to yourself. Some people pass it on to their children and all those kind of things. So these are some of the differences between small businesses and startups. And when we continue in the conversation, we'll get to see why this is key. Now, I know I've been saying small businesses. In terms of in Nigeria, I want to try and differentiate or kind of touch on some of the components of a small business. Now, in small business, when we say SMEs in Nigeria, small businesses general, we're talking about micro enterprises, small enterprises, as well as medium enterprises. Now, we have the classification on the screen here where small micro enterprises or small micro businesses are businesses from anywhere from 1 to maybe 10 employees making, I don't know, maybe less than 5 million, give or take, while small businesses go from 10 to 50 employees, making up to 50 million, and then medium enterprises make all the way to like maybe like 500 million, half a billion naira in this case. Now, if you have an idea, what you should be thinking about before you start looking for funding is my business idea the traditional model? Things like, oh, I have a barber's shop, I want to start selling clothes, or I want to start selling pure water. If it's a traditional kind of business model, then yeah, you might be falling in the realm of small businesses. And then if you're thinking, oh, I just want something stable, for my immediate community, like you said, low risk, that is definitely small business. Now, if it is something innovative, for example, let's say you live in Lagos and you said because of the whole traffic situation in Lagos, you believe you can create flying cars. And flying cars will be able to serve the whole of Lagos, help other places in Nigeria. It can go global in places like Mumbai, London, New York that usually have traffic congestion. Then you might be dabbling in the space of startups. And then is this something scalable? Is this something that is tech-driven? And then so the last point there about tech-driven is quite important because most startups, almost all startups, will have some form of component, some component or some form of tech in them. And that's because tech helps you to scale, to go global and to reach more audience. While in the small businesses, you might see tech here and there, but they typically don't need tech because they're not looking to get as much customers as the startups are doing. Now, in terms of why do you really need funding? Part of the reasons why you might need funding is because maybe you want to build a product, just the way Tijani talked about how to go about building a product. Maybe you need working capital to be able to fund the business. And then maybe you need a space to get your employees, for you to actually work out of. And then hiring as well, you might need funding for that. And then sales and marketing. Also, you might also need funding for that initially, depending on if you're a small business or you are a startup. Now, I will just rush through this because I am sure that most of us already know some, if not most, of the common funding challenges that people go through. So some of the funding challenges include, limited access to credit facilities, banks, and all of that. High interest rates. Some banks can give you as high as, I don't know, 20% in some places as interest rate. And then you might lack collateral if you're just starting out, you're a young guy or young person who doesn't have, that much collateral for, to go get a loan. And then all the way to, lack of investor confidence in your business or in your idea. Then there are all these bureaucracy and regulatory challenges that might also creep up as well. And then now the last two are quite interesting because limited networking opportunities, which means you don't have access to the venture capitals, the big people, the rich folks, and all that. And then in terms of the geographical disparities as well, you might be in a location where really investors are not just there, or maybe there is shortage of funding there. So if say you are in the village trying to create a business or get a loan, you might not get as much funding there as if you're in a bigger city. Now, after saying that, taking a look at some of the sources of funding, you have everything from self-funding, which is basically me using my savings to maybe I don't know, start a business. I can go get a loan, family and friends, grants. Now, the bottom four are typically synonymous with startups, so to say, but the top ones, like I said, are typically for, well, I'm not sure I said it yet, but the top ones are typically for small businesses. Now, this is why it was kind of important for us to differentiate between a small business and a startup. Now, for small businesses, you are likely going to use your money to start, to fund that. You might need loans. Banks are willing to give you loans for that. And then family and friends as well. And you can get government grants, or even maybe your university can support as well. Now, some of these are applicable to startups as well. So the ones circled green are specifically for small businesses. The ones with the red circle, or highlighted in red, are applicable to startups. So as a startup founder, you can fund your startup if you want. You can ask your family and friends. You can get grants. Now you can also go for crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is basically, let's say all of us on this call, we agree to put together, to bring our, to put our money in a bucket, and then use that money to either fund a business or, give it to a startup founder to go use it to create something. Now, angel investors are usually high net worth individuals, people who have a lot of money and they can back a founder. Well, they don't need to have a lot of money these days. Even with a couple of, thousands of naira or millions of naira, you can also be an angel investor. Then for incubators and accelerators, these are typically like a small school. Well, it's not what I call it a school. It's more like a training center that typically helps startups to build their idea or scale their idea, so to say. So you can go to an incubator and say, I have this idea, I need guidance. They will give you all the business coaches, the training coaches, and then they can also incubators, accelerators, like I was saying. So incubators help you mold your startup idea. They help you build your MVP and all those things. Accelerators, like the name implies, you already have your product and maybe you have a couple of customers. Then the accelerators would be like, they basically help you scale to get more customers. So these two trainings or schools are typically they're typically owned by either VCs or government organizations, and some of them will actually fund your startups as well. Well, so to a certain extent. Now, VCs, venture capital, family offices, these are typically investment companies who invest in mainly startups, where private equity invests in other kinds of businesses, but venture capital will invest in only startups that they believe have the potential to conquer the world, disrupt an industry, and what have you. Now, we can go deeper into each of these segments or each of the slides I'm going to, but because of time, I'll just speed it up a little bit. Now, in terms of when you're preparing for funding, as a small business owner, some of the things you need to be thinking about is when I'm going to a bank, I need to have a clear business model. What am I doing? Who are my customers? And all those things that I believe Tosin kind of touched on initially, and TG as well. Then you have to get your financial records in place to be able to show the banks that this is what I've been making, projections and all those things, so that the banks will know that, okay, this guy actually knows what he's doing. He can actually get the money back for us. And then you need to build, of course, you need to have a good relationship with your lenders so that they can at least give you good money. Sometimes you can even bargain for the rates. And then there are some lenders that can actually help your business as well. They give you the loan, but then they can assign like a business consultant or a business coach to your business that can be helping you along the way. And then, of course, you need to have collateral ready, like we said earlier, which is one of the problems with having a startup. For startups, typically don't need collateral because it's just an idea and you want to build it, and it takes a while for you to build it. But with small businesses, you might already have a shop. You might even have like the goods already, or maybe like a property that you can use for collateral. Now, for startups, when you're preparing for funding, so for startups, when you're preparing for funding, you need to be thinking about the market size as well as analysis of the market. These are some of the things that the VCs want to see. They want to see that you are thinking about conquering the whole of Africa or the whole of Nigeria or the whole world. They don't want you talking about, oh, it's going to be just for my village people or just for my community and all of that. Then you need to come up with a good business model as well. How do you intend to make money, basically? Everything that goes around, that evolves around that, put it in there. Then also VCs want to see that your business, your idea or your product is defensible. Now, what this means is that you're not going to create a product that just anybody. David Ogo, I don't know, can you please either mute everyone or maybe just remove Kabir or just buzz him privately that he's interrupting the call? Thanks. So as I was saying, defensibility. You need to be able to create a product that cannot be easily replicated, so to say. So, for example, if I say I want to create an app that helps people book a taxi, for example, which is similar to what Uber is doing, what am I going to do that is different? What am I going to do that is different that someone cannot just easily copy? So that's the defensibility that we're talking about. And then you need to be able to prove traction. Tijani touched on that. I have like 1 million customers already, or I made $10,000 for the past few months. I am in the news, people are talking about me in the press. Any kind of traction that you can put in there, let them see it. Now, one particular point that is very, very key to VCs and startup investors is your team. You need to come with a really, really strong team. This cannot be, I can't emphasize this enough. And the reason for this is because as long as you have a really strong team, VCs believe that you will be able to succeed. And that's why VCs or, early stage investors, they will typically back a repeat founder. What that means is if you've built a company before, maybe you sold the company or you exited the company or whatever, if you have that track record, VCs typically love such people because you've been there, done that. So they will love to support you. Now, if on your team, let's say you're building a health tech product, for example, like Tijani's product, and then on your team, you have like 2 doctors that are specialists in their field. You have a really great software engineer that has worked with Uber, Google, or something like that. Then maybe you have a badass business development manager that has worked globally. You have a crazy sales manager or sales VP. VCs will definitely eat that up because they feel you have a strong team that can actually execute your idea or this particular, business that you're bringing to them. Now, when you want to come up with an idea that is fundable, that investors will absolutely love and want to back you up, some of the things that you need to be thinking about is in terms of the ideas or the problems you want to solve. Is this problem a popular problem? Which means, do many people have this problem? If many people have this problem, that means this problem will be a good one to solve. It will be a good one to invest in. Now, is it urgent? When people have this problem, they really, really need to solve this problem. So that's what it means by being urgent. And is it a growing pain for people? More and more people are having the problem, or the problem is getting worse by the day. And the other thing again to think about is it expensive to solve this problem right now? So for example, if a particular product or a particular problem right now for you to solve it, it's costing you, I don't know, maybe like 1,000 naira to just solve that particular problem. But then you are coming up with an idea that will actually reduce that cost by half. Then absolutely, it is a good idea that is fundable. Then again, is it mandatory? So in terms of is it mandatory, is this something that There is no way around it. You just have to solve it, or people just have to solve that problem. So, for example, if there's a place where there's no water, like the example Tijani used, there's no water there. It is just you need water there. Then it is a problem to solve. Then if it's say maybe a problem that if you don't solve it, there is maybe regulatory or government implication, so to say. Then it is something that is mandatory when it comes to when you start putting legal terms and all of that. Then last but not the least, is it frequent? Is it a frequent pain for people? Do people have this problem, monthly, daily, weekly, or even hourly? So I don't know if we have any of our sisters here, but so for example, female menstrual cycle cramps and all that, that is a problem that could be solved or could be eased. It is a frequent problem for women. So if your targeted market are for women and all of that, then that can be like a frequent problem that you want to solve for them. So now moving into the realm of, okay, so another example or the impact of small businesses, and now this is being specific to Nigeria. The first slide I showed was basically impact of startups, and we use the US to show us how startups are kind of important for the economy. Now, in terms of small businesses, this data was from National Bureau of Statistics, and it actually shows that in terms of employment, that's the picture on the left here, large businesses actually accounted for only 16% of employment in the whole of Nigeria as of 2021. Now, small businesses on the other side, they accounted for 84% of employment. Now, what this tells us is that small businesses are actually a force to reckon with. We need them highly in Nigeria, especially with the 33% unemployment that we have going on. So if more and more of us can dabble in the area of small businesses, we will not just be helping ourselves, our families, but we might actually be creating employment and then, even taking ourselves out of the employment statistics, which is good. Now, in terms of the GDP, the gross domestic product for the country, yes, large businesses accounted for, 52% of all of that. However, small, medium enterprises actually accounted for 48%, which is almost half of the GDP of the country. Again, this goes along to show that small businesses are quite important, and they are a sector that some of us or most of us should be thinking about, because a lot of opportunities there, and we can't all be working 9 to 5 and looking for jobs with the big corporations. There is a big opportunity with the small businesses, either to create a small business or to work with a small business. Now, the second example I wanted to share is for Canada, where I am right now. In terms of the employment, on the left-hand side here, as you can see, I hope my mouse is showing. On the left-hand side, large businesses only accounted for 1.4 million employment in Canada in 2021. Now, small, medium enterprise accounted for almost 11 million jobs. 11 million jobs in the whole of Canada. So that is, in fact, that's almost 10 times the employment created by large businesses. Again, this shows us that more and more people work in the small business sector than they work in large corporations. Now, in terms of number of businesses in Canada, Canada only has roughly 3,000 large businesses, but the bulk of the businesses that are in Canada, almost 1.2 million businesses, are small, medium enterprises. Again, this kind of shows us some of the importance of why we need to start thinking about entrepreneurship, small businesses, in a new limelight. So let me see, conscious of time. All right. So I think, yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Try to stay within 25 minutes, but sorry, David Ogo, I couldn't. And I think I will be entertaining any questions now.
Thank you, Mikail. So if anyone has a question, please you could just raise your hand or if your mic and speak so we can take your question. Thank you.
Then it's too out of my time, so I had to rush everything. Don't mind that, boy. Any questions, anyone? Oh, wow. Hamza, Simon. David, can you anchor the questions, please? David, you're muted.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, Simon, could you say your question now? After you then take question from Hamza.
Hello, guys and sisters. Happy to be here. I've missed you guys a lot, too, but let me just go straight to the point. Mikail, I came in late, okay, so I didn't hear Tunji's presentation, but
Okay.
I was here for Mikail's, at least towards the tail end. I just wanted to ask something. Beautiful presentation with all the facts and figures. I learned recently that VC funded businesses, about 75% of them fail. I'm sure you probably are aware of that. And so I just wanted you to just shed some light on what are the reasons for this. First of all, if this is an accurate thing, and also what are the reasons for this failure, and what are the things we can do to prevent such failures, of course, because if you're going to present your business to a VC funder, what can we do to mitigate those risks to avoid failing? Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Simon, that is a fantastic question. I am okay. I'm sorry, Hamza. Can you mute your mic, please? Hamza? Okay, I'll just go ahead and answer that. So I'm trying to get what do you call it? I'm trying to get a slide up. It wasn't part of my presentation. It's part of a different presentation. And let me see. Let me just see. Okay, I just quickly created a quick slide. I hope it works. Let me start sharing. Can everyone see my slide now, please?
Yes, I can see it.
A bit more.
Yeah, I just quickly put something real quick together, so that's why. But okay, let me just go ahead and just say it. So Simon, that's a great question. And actually, you said about 70% of businesses that VCs fund fail. That, if that was the case, that would be very, very good, by the way, because the statistics is actually worse than that. It's anywhere from 90 to 95. No, scratch that. Almost 95% of businesses that VCs fund actually fail. Now, the reason why they fail, there are a bunch of reasons why they fail. Some of the reasons, to begin with, startup is a very, very risky ecosystem. And that's why in Canada, for example, you are not allowed to invest in startups if you're not an accredited investor. And what being an accredited investor means is that you make nothing less than $200,000 every year. Now, I don't know if you know, but almost 80 to 90% of North Americans are not within that. In fact, 85 to 90% or even 95% of them are not within that range at all. So that's why sometimes people would joke that startup investing is just for the rich, is the rich getting richer. It is because it is a very, very risky sector. And part of the reasons why it is risky is because you are creating a product, you are creating a technology. There is no guarantee that people are going to need it or going to want it or going to want to change what they are currently using. So that's why you only hear about the startups that made it in the news, the Ubers, the Teslas, and all of that. But for every Uber that actually makes it or succeeds, there is a whole bunch of reasons or a whole bunch of other Ubers that failed. And it could be either, just like on the screen, it could be either they run out of cash, they don't have enough money to keep going, the business idea was wrong, they don't have an IDP. The IDP was wrong, which is ideal customer profile. They were choosing the wrong customer subset. Like Tosin said, if you're going to sell pure water, you need to understand there are different types of categories of pure water or pure waters like that. And then the other thing again is when you're creating a business, it is not about it's not about selling pure water. What problem are you trying to solve? A lot of startups don't actually get that problem right. So if I want to sell pure water, for example, it's not that people want pure water. The problem might be people need to quench their thirst. Now, there are a whole bunch of ways that people can do it. They can drink Coke, they can drink beer, they can drink kunu, akamu, whatever it is that they have, they can drink it. But why am I deciding to go with water? I need to get that right. So there are a whole spectrum of reasons why startups typically fail, and that is why that statistics is quite high. So most VCs, when they are investing in a company, for example, the school of thought is that when a VC invests in 10 companies, 8 of those companies are going to fail. 8 will fail, and by failing means either they just either they go out of existence or someone just acquires them or the VCs just write them off. If 8 fail, 1 is going to break even. So the VC will just about make their money. And then the last one, which is the 10th one, is the one that is going to be maybe a unicorn or something. But the good thing is that if you get a unicorn out of those 10, that unicorn, which is basically $1 billion company, is going to account for all the losses. So if a VC invests, let's say $1 million in a particular company, and then the company got sold for, let's say, $50 million down the line, that VC has actually made much more than they've expected, even though they have $9 million in the other 9 companies that failed. So that one company that brought back a return of 49 million is going to pay for all those other ones. So this is actually like a subject or a topic in itself, but I'll just stop there for now. Does that answer your question, Simon? Or does that kind of touch on it?
Oh yes, it does. It does. It gives a different like spotlight and a point of view as to how the VCs look into this problem because so yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is also part of the reason why when you go to meet VCs, they will scrutinize the living daylight out of you before they think about giving you the money. And then it's not like they don't like you, but they're just trying to do their due diligence, even though some of them fail in that aspect. But they try as much as they can to try and get that particular company that is going to become a unicorn. So that's why when, let's say, 100 companies apply to VCs might only invest in just 2 out of those 100 companies. And that's just because they know that startups fail. They just know that. So because of that, they try their best to try and get those ones that end up becoming, the good ones. Although even at that, they still fail.
Okay.
Hamza? Yeah, thanks, Simon.
Okay, sorry, Oga Hamza Ali, you can speak now.
Oga Hamza.
Okay, thank you very much. Good day, all. Thank you very much, Mikail, and thank you very much, Tijani. That was a wonderful presentation. It really added to my knowledge. And also, good day to all people on the call. I worked in the bank. Sorry, my name is Hamza Ali, 88/892 Jaguar Squadron. I was working in a bank, so I had to I got the idea of setting up a school because I have a passion for school business, private school. So I came up with a name in which from my personal savings, I was able to, let's say, like raise a good amount of money. So the school is based in, I started the school by renting an apartment in which, because by then I was not having proper knowledge about setting school. So the problem I had was to start from pre-nursery to, let's say, primary 5, thinking, let's say I'm going to get a good or reasonable number of students. But at the end of the day, I ended up paying for my pocket without even getting a reasonable number of students. So later on, the second mistake I made again was on setting up the brand name, because the name of the school is Lisa. So there will be like the name does not really catch the attention of the society. So I had to, let's say, like change, which is a new location. Hello.
Yeah,
Hello, sir.
Ogamza, you're breaking up. But go ahead.
Hello. Okay. Sorry, can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible now.
So we relocated this. We relocated the school to our farm.
I think he has gone on.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm that it wasn't just my end. Yeah, so okay, so let me just kind of touch a little bit on what well, I don't think he got to his question, but just touch on some of the things he said. I think he talked about changing location or something, and this also kind of ties into what Tosin said earlier, and TJ as well. When you want to start a business, either startup or small business, you absolutely need to try and get your ideal customer profile, which basically ties into, okay, what is the problem I'm solving? Or who are the people I'm solving this problem for? So in terms of location, for example, if you go set up a school in a place where there are a whole bunch of other schools that are affordable, or maybe your kind of school is just not needed in that environment, then you might not have the right set of customers. And I think he was talking about the name as well. Branding also ties into when we didn't talk about branding simply because it's not part of the funding. It's not part of the whole funding conversation. Branding is typically for your customer acquisition and all of that. But yes, in terms of branding as well, you need to try and if you want it to be catchy, you need to try and brand to your specific set of customers. So if you are I didn't hear what he said the name of the school was, but of course, if the name of your school or your branding shows a different perspective of what other people are expecting, some of them might not want to be associated to that brand itself. So that could be a challenge, and it's also something to kind of think about when you're coming up with your business idea. Does anyone have another question? Questions, please. Because if there's no question, that will mean either everyone understands everything or understands nothing about what we discussed today.
I think there's a question in the chat. Someone just, I think Joanne just dropped a message on the chat group.
Oh, okay.
On the chat,
Sorry.
yeah.
But what pointers can you give to enhance business continuity in small businesses? Oh, that's a good question. What pointers can you give to enhance business continuity in new businesses? Good. So, in fact, how many, David, how many more hours do we have? Because this question
go ahead and answer. Go ahead and answer.
This question is it's really jam-packed. Now, in terms of pointers, first and foremost, either a small business or startup, try to fall in love, and I'll put this in quote, try to fall in love with the problem, not the solution you're providing, with the problem. And the reason this is key is because if you fall in love with the solution or the way you're providing a service or a business, if customers are not buying into that, you might not see that on time, and then you will not change your pivot. You will say, oh, my solution is the best, my service is the best. So for example, let's say you typically send a truckload of farm material, farm produce to a particular location, but people there don't really want that much. Maybe they don't want you to be trucking things to them. They only want it in bits and pieces. So maybe every few weeks or few days, they just want like taxi load, that's all, just something small. Then if it's a startup idea, let's say you're telling people to carpool, for example, and people are like, no, we don't want to carpool. It's not safe. I don't want to get in a taxi with strangers or something, but you just stick to your own solution. Then you might not get the right continuity or the traction that you need. But when you fall in love with the problem you're trying to solve, then you start to see more opportunities and more ways of solving that problem. And then you can always pivot or change or do other things. Now, the other thing you need to also understand is that customers don't buy ideas or products per se. They buy solutions to problems. So in the first instance, I said, fall in love with the problem. And then in the second system, I'm telling you that it is not product or ideas that customers buy. They buy solutions to their problems. So as a small business, if you can keep meeting the demand, keep solving the solution of your customers, the way they want it to be solved, not the way you want it to be solved or the way you think it should be solved, the way the customers want it to be solved. If you try to stick to that, then you will have that business continuity. And then there's something we talk about, what's the name, iteration in startups. Small businesses need to be able to do that as well. Basically, keep trying to get feedback from your customers, your great customers, your bad customers, anyone. Try to reach out to them, call them, go and meet them, talk to them. Am I meeting your demands? Do you like the way I'm solving your problem? The ones that say yes, okay, double down on that, keep solving it, keep improving, keep doing it, just keep doing what you are doing. Be true to your business in that sense. The ones that say no, that is not the way I want it solved, you can ask them, so how do you want it solved? Then you can try to meet them halfway. Now, the one thing you also need to put in mind is that you cannot cater for all the customers in the world. So you might need to pick a certain subset of customers and just focus on them, get really good at what you are doing, and just keep doing it. Now, I'll go back to the example of the one that Tosin said. Now, there are some expensive bottle of waters, and then there's the pure water, the sachet water. If your customers only want, if majority, let's say 80 to 90% of your customers want pure water, sachet water, but then you have like 2 or 3 people that are asking for bottled water. Those 3 or 3 people, they are not your core customers. So if you say you want to solve their problem and solve the problem of the pure water people as well, you might not be able to take care of both sets of customers. But for the ones that said they want bottled water, you can say, okay, sorry, I don't do bottled water. You leave them alone. Then you concentrate on your pure water people and just keep doing what you are doing and get really good at it. Make sure you're always in the face of your customers, talking to them, asking them for feedback, going back and working on that feedback, and then returning back to them to let them know that you've worked on the feedback they gave you. And I think if you keep doing that, then the continuity of your business is, I don't want to say it's guaranteed, because in sales, investment, and all that, we never say anything is guaranteed. But I can assure you that you will see some form of continuity and traction in your business. And I hope that helps, Joan. Thanks for coming by the way, Joan. Ajanaku, how do you address issues around discrepancies around startups simply abusing the trust and confidence of their investors and the funds they raise? Ajanaku, you're not serious. We chatted about this already now.
He just had to bring that in.
I know, right? Don't mind that. So, Ajanaku, now, we just had our startup week. So globally, I think last week was Global Startup Week. I think, yeah, all over, but we had our own over here, and this conversation came up as well. But trust now, yours and truly brought it up as well. So, yes, so how do I put this? There are some startup founders that lie. They lie to investors and say, hey, Mr. Investor, I have 1 million, or I have, let's say, 10 million customers right now, or maybe I own half of Africa. And then investors will go ahead and give them money thinking, yes, they have good traction and all of that. Now, what typically happens is that it's not like the investors are dumb or they couldn't find out. But the problem is that you need to understand, with tech, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of cheat the system and all of that. And one way is for you to go and create bots. So that's why sometimes you see people on LinkedIn or people on Instagram, for example. Instagram is a good example. You see people on Instagram where they have like 200,000 followers, 500,000 followers. But when they post something, only 2 people or 3 people will comment on those things. Only 2 or 3 will comment. What that tells me, if I'm an investor or like as an analyst, is that if you're posting something and only 2-3 people comment on it, and you have 500,000 followers, that means majority of the followers are not real. They're just bots, because they are not organic customers. They are not customers they are not followers that interact and all of that. So this is some of the challenge that we face in the startup world as well. Some founders, they use bots to create the resemblance or semblance of customers, and then they pitch to investors. Now, what investors do is that when they see customers and they're like, oh, wow, you have plenty customers, you have traction, okay, you have a good team and all of that, will invest in you. Now, one of the ways that investors are currently looking at, stopping this abuse or trying to catch this kind of people is that first one is they are beginning to talk to customers. So, for example, if Tijani comes to me with his health tech solution and says, I have 10,000 customers right now in Nigeria and he needs funding. As an investor, one of the due diligence I'll do on him is I'll say, give me the list of your top 10 customers. And then what I'll then do is go ahead and talk to maybe 5 of them, interview them, ask them what they feel about the product, why they are using it, why they want Tijani's product and all of that. Then the other thing I can do also is to say, give me the list of all your customers. Then I can then randomly select a few of those customers and just call them just to verify. So it can be, I can go and pick number 1 customer, go to number 500, go to number 1,000 and all of that, and then try to get into. So it's just basically random selection. Now, the other way again is that some VCs are currently, working with techs, with software engineers to try and see how they can actually catch all these bots that people are using. So if you give me a list of customers or you say you have 10,000 customers, I should have a software that goes through the list and basically try to see which of the names or which of the people on the list are actually real or genuine. So if it's a business-to-business model that you're running, that would be very easy for a software engineer to kind of pick out which one is fake or not. So if you go and say one of your customers is Tijani David Simon PLC, and then the software goes ahead to check and there's no Tijani David Simon PLC, all you did was just put together the names of a couple of 98 set boys and put PLC at the back of their name. A bot will be able to find out because it will not be able to see their URL online or any traction about them. So, and then the other thing again is to basically talk to other investors that have invested in that Tijani solution. So if Tijani is claiming that, oh, I have XYZ investors that have invested in me, I can go talk to them. Why did they invest in him and all of that? Then the other thing again I can also do is go to his LinkedIn profile, look for random connections, basically chat them up. So this is all part of doing due diligence on both the founder and the business itself. So you're right. There is a challenge of founders trying to game the system, but VCs are equally trying to get creative in how they tackle that problem. Now, the one thing I see, unfortunately, is that some VCs are kind of blacklisting Africa simply because they feel like, oh, Africa is the worst continent in the world. We do all these things. But I'm typically like, hey, you people, the worst cases of founder fraud is actually in North America, not in Africa. So they shouldn't be saying all that kind of crap. So yeah, so great question, Janaku. There's no one answer, and VCs are actively working on trying to solve this particular issue. TJ, I think you raised your hand. I don't know if you had a question or you wanted to contribute. Can't even see TJ again.
No, okay. Yes. I thought when you were rounding up, I was just gonna mention the part where you tackled it already, where you mentioned reiteration and then customers' feedback. Very important. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. So yeah, that's very, very important. And a lot of businesses and startups, they fail to do that. And oh, by the way, in the training I had last week also, so part of the conversation was some founders or businesses, they typically send out customer surveys. Customer survey is good in some instances, but it's actually very bad for businesses and startups. You don't want customer survey. Customer survey, not everybody is going to attend to it. People are too busy. It's just, and it's basically you putting words in the mouth or putting words in the mouth of your customers. Whereas if you can have a conversation with your top customers or your customers generally, like a brief interview, 5 minutes, just call them up or meet them, 5-minute interview. The reason why interview is good is because if I ask you a question that, oh, so why don't you like using taxi? Okay, let me put it. If I say, why don't you like, will you take a taxi? Okay, are you open to using a taxi? Yes or no? And you just say, no, I don't want to take a taxi on the survey, then I can't ask follow-up questions. But if I'm having an interview with you and I say, okay, will you take a taxi instead of buses? And then you say no, then I can say, okay, Why don't you want to take taxis? Then you might say, oh, I don't like taking taxis because maybe it is not safe, one chance, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, okay. How often do you see this happening? What do you think I can do to what do you think I can do to make it safe for you to take taxis? So these are some of the ways that, you can use interviews to basically get out the kind of feedback that you want. So Mahmoud is asking, what are the typical funding sources and investment strategies, okay, used by startup real estate developers compared to small scale developers? Okay, so this is quite interesting. And I'll tackle this from two angles. What are the typical funding sources and investment strategies? Okay, used by startup real estate. So I'll use two examples. I'll tackle this in two aspects because I used to work for I worked for a commercial real estate company. However, I worked for the tech division of the commercial real estate company, which is kind of interesting because in commercial real estate, they don't get funding from VCs. They don't get funding from in real estate rather, they don't get funding from crowdfunding, incubators, venture capitals, and all that. If you want to say become a real estate developer, most of the time you might need to go get a loan, or you might need to go get someone who is very, very rich, or a few rich people that will give you money. Then you use that money to buy the initial land, and then you go and start selling the land in bits and pieces to other people. Or you can get the money from loans or other people and then go and build houses and then start selling it. Now, in recent times, and I've seen one out of Nigeria right now, I think it's called Prop Model, or is it Prop Crowding or something like that. It is a real estate company who is trying to get into crowdfunding. So what they are doing right now is they are saying, hey guys, let all of us on this call contribute money. By the time we contribute money, let's say we're able to raise, let's say, 100 million naira or 200 million naira, then we'll go and use it to buy like a shopping mall in what's the name, in somewhere in Lagos, or build a shopping mall somewhere in Lagos. Then we would then start sharing the revenue from the rent that we get from people. That is one way of getting funding as a real estate developer. Now, if you can then add tech, real estate tech, they call it either CRE-tech as prop tech or tech, if you can add that into the real estate value proposition that you have, then it starts to move you to the realm of VCs and angel investors. So again, let's say you have, so there's a company right now out of Lagos, and what they are basically doing is that they are creating like an Airbnb version for Nigeria, but in Lagos, simply because Lagos is congested. Young people cannot buy a house in center of Lagos and all of that. So what they are doing now is that they've created an app where if you get to Lagos and maybe you got a new job in Lagos and you're moving to Lagos, you cannot afford a big house and all of that. You can use these people to you can go on their app and basically look for people that have a spare room in their house, and they are willing to lease it to you for maybe 6 months to a year. So now, if you then come to me as an investor and say, hey, I have this app, a real estate app that's able to help people get rooms and all of that accommodation, and it helps the landlord to make money while saving money for the user. And then you tell me that there are 10 million young people that in Lagos that cannot buy a house, and they're committing 4, 5, 10 hours to their work location, and they can get something closer. And then we start to look at the numbers. Then yes, as an investor, I will be interested in looking at that and investing in you. But the interesting thing is that if you take that to a bank, the bank will not invest in you because you're bringing an app to them. You don't have collateral. So they will not invest in you. So these are some of the strategies and things that you need to think about when you want to go into real estate development. Do you want to stay on the tech side, or do you want to actually tackle the infrastructure, be on the infrastructure side? And I hope that kind of helps a little bit, Mahmoud. Hey, Biodun Lawal. Is that Godfather? I hope that's not you. Oh, God, Biodun Lawal. But okay, thank you, Shao. If it is you saved my grubs back in the days. You saved it from your course mates and some other people. Thank you very much. So the question, hello all, in what ways can a family friend investor get ROI from a startup? So this is a very, very good question. And I actually didn't touch on this. So when VCs, investors, angel investors, and all of that, when they invest in a startup, you need to understand that it's a long game. And that's why startup investing as an investor is not for everybody. If you need your money in the next 1 or 2, 3 years, then don't invest in startups. Startup investors have a runway of, they have a timeline of anywhere from 3 to maybe 5 years, but it's typically anywhere from 5 to 10 years before you get your money back. That is if you get your money back. And the reason for this is that startups typically become profitable around the second year to third year mark, but the average is around the third year of existence. That's when startups become profitable. And when startups become profitable, they don't return that profit back to the investors. They reinvest that profit inside the startup. That's why that's the nature of startup. They want to grow big. And if you want to grow big, you don't start giving out your money. You keep reinvesting that money in your business until you grow big. Now, family and friends, they're a very, very interesting set of investors. Now, like I said, VCs and investors typically will wait 5 to 10 years before they get their money back. But family and friends are unique in the sense that they give startups initial capital to start working. Now, what happens is that when the startup starts working and then maybe after 1 or 2 years, they start to have a few customers, they start to gain traction, then they will start to gain attention as well. More VCs will start looking at them like, okay, this startup is now making X amount of money per month. Or they now have like 20,000 followers and all that. Users and all that. Then VCs will start to get interested. Now, when VCs get interested and they want to invest in that startup, they might come after a year or two that the startup has existed. Now, that is an opportunity for family and friends to cash out. When family and friends are giving you, let's say they gave you 10 million naira to start your company. When you just started the company with only idea, they gave you 10 million naira. Now, 2 years down the line, your company is now worth maybe 50 million naira or 100 million naira. Then investors say, hey, you know what? We want to buy 50% of your company. So they want to give you 50 million naira. What can happen in this case is that those family and friends that gave you the initial money that you used to start, they can say, you know what? Now that I gave you 10 million naira, now my 10 million naira is now 20 million naira because you've doubled in valuation, it's now 20 million naira. I want to leave. I want to cash out now. So what will then happen is that those new VCs, the new investors, they will buy out your family and friends, give them the 20 million. Those ones will go and be chilling with that 20 million and the 10 million profit they've made. They will take it and go. And then the VCs will now own 50% of that particular company. So this is one way for family and friends to kind of get their money back. Someone has to buy them out, or they need to wait until the startup matures. After a couple of years, you go IPO, you get listed on the stock market, or private equity comes to buy the company, then they can cash out. I hope that helps. Ogalawa. Customer feedback can never be overemphasized. Yes, TJ, that's right. Customer is always right, but sometimes not all of them are right. Okay, absolutely agree. Yes, they're always right, but of course, like I said, you need to pick the right customer and listen to the right customer. Great presentation. What is the most attractive sector for venture capital in Nigeria? Oh my goodness, this is a great question, and I actually don't like the answer, but I'll give you the right answer, even though I don't like the right answer. So the right answer is that in Nigeria today, the most lucrative sector or the most attractive sector for VCs, unfortunately, is fintech. VCs love fintech. They love fintech like, in fact, I don't. And the reason VCs love fintech is that it is easy. It is an easy sector to get into, and the return is a lot. Now, I don't know if a lot of you are aware, but just a few days, was it 2 weeks ago, there was a report that came out from FTN Intelligence, that's their financial intelligence global organization. They did a research and found out that Lagos and New York ranked second for the largest creators of fintech companies within the last few years. So Lagos had about, I think it was 7%. I think 7% of all the fintech companies created in the whole world came out of Lagos. Now, the only country that beat Lagos was actually London. Now that tells you how big Lagos is. If Lagos is competing with places like New York and is second globally. So absolutely, fintech is the most attractive and well, I don't want to say lucrative, but most attractive sector for VCs. And the reason is simply because we have a lot of Nigerians in the diaspora, for example. They want to be able to send money home easily. They need, for one reason or the other, the easiest way is to go to a fintech app to send that money back home. It's usually cheaper as well. And then the other thing again, we have a lot of Nigerians who want to either invest in places abroad, like stock markets abroad, or send money abroad, or buy things abroad. So they also need to send money out. And at the end of the day, what I see the fintechs doing is they're just providing a platform for people to just move money back and forth. I typically don't like fintechs, like I said. As an investor, I like companies that are solving real problems. Yes, you can say moving money back and forth is a real problem, but for me, I wanted to be building more houses, fixing health tech, all those kind of things. But yes, Henry, right now, fintech is the most lucrative and most attractive sector for VCs. But for me, if you want to try and get a problem to solve, don't look at what is the most attractive sector in Nigeria. Look at what sector in Nigeria has the biggest challenges, or where do you see challenges that you can fix, that you can help us fix. And I think health tech is one that it's absolutely needed. I can see a lot of startups lately coming out of Nigeria with telemedicine, where you just call your doctor and then they help you out with things. So just look around. If you see, any problem that you see, you can reach out to me. We can always brainstorm how, the benefits, how you can. And the other thing you have to be thinking about if you want to get into startup is, yes, the problem might be in Nigeria, but immediately you see the problem, start thinking about how to scale that problem across Africa. Because I guarantee you, if Nigeria has that problem, there are a couple of African countries that have that similar problem as well. Let me see. Good day, all. Hamza Ali, thanks so much. The presentation met expectations. I have a school as a startup. A school as a startup. Okay, that's interesting. We started with renting before moving to our permanent site. We had to cater for construction and salaries. Okay. Our major problem is sourcing for grant or bank loans because the requirements are much. Yes. So absolutely. So okay. This is not a startup. Hamza. So this is not a startup. What you've just described here is a small business. You've started a school, and yes, you're right. Getting loans, requirements, and all of that are typically challenges for entrepreneurs these days. And even not just even the loans, really, government requirements as well. So, for example, if you're starting up a school, I believe there are a whole bunch of accreditations and things you need to have in place. If you have 10 students, you must have a certain square kilometer, or is it square miles, or is it like a certain area for them, and all those kind of things. So those are some of the things you need to look into before going into construction and all those kind of things. But now, in terms of loan, we had to cater for constructions and salaries. Okay, now if you already have the school, if the school already exists, then I think you said you worked in a bank. So if the school already exists, then what you can do is try to reach out to the people that you worked with in the banking sector back in your days. Try to see where they are today. Some of them might be managers now. Some of them might be top people in different banks now. Try and see if you can, strike up conversations with them, see how they can assist you with funding. And then the other thing again is, in terms of collateral, you might actually have to use the school you've built already. You might want to use that as your collateral to be able to get that loan. The thing is that VCs will not invest in this in your small business. Now, if you had told me that the school you built is an online school where people can study on their phone, they can study on their laptop, they can wake up anytime, any day, go into their student profile, pick materials, read materials, submit materials there, maybe even chat with professors, write on the app, chat with classmates, solve problems on that same app, then that moves you into the realm of startups. And then you can start talking about getting to, meeting angel investors and VCs to invest in that particular, to invest in your particular venture. I hope that helps a little bit. Let me see. Thank you for a wonderful presentation, guys. VC seems to be rare. Yes, Abdul Jabbar. Yes, VCs are extremely rare in Nigeria. In fact, not just Nigeria, in Africa. And that is why I am currently looking at dabbling into that space. Now, there was another report again that came out just this week ranking the fastest growing VC ecosystems in the world. Unfortunately, there was no city in the whole of Africa that was on that list, which means, again, to your point, we don't have a lot of that in Africa. And VC is not something big in Nigeria, which is kind of which takes us back to, let me see, what's that? My first slide here. No, not this one. This first slide that I showed earlier, where I said we actually don't have any VC backed or startup ecosystem backed companies on the Nigerian stock market. It is simply because we don't have VCs. And the other problem is that VCs are afraid of coming into Nigeria or Africa generally. Fun fact to tell you is that if you are a startup, before you can raise money, before any VC will invest in you, before any top global VC will invest in you, you must be registered in the US. And it's typically Delaware that you go register in. So you become a Delaware Corp. You must be registered in the US. Some will be okay with you registered in London or I think Amsterdam. I think Amsterdam is one of those places too. But US, Delaware is the place where every VC will want you registered in. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The Delaware incorporation system is very easy for anybody to register. From Nigeria, you can be in your living room and register a company there. They'll just verify you and you'll be registered. Then the other reason again is that VCs understand the US system. In terms of registering companies, their rights over the company, when they invest in the company, what can they do with their rights? What power do they have and all of that? So that is why when you register in the US, if you mess up in Nigeria, they know that they can get to you simply because you are a US registered company. So they can come after your asset, they can come after you. If it is a case of fraud, like we've been seeing lately, they can even sue you in the US. So yes, the VC ecosystem in Nigeria is just beginning to is at the cradle stage right now. There are more and more VCs in Nigeria. Anyone who has a startup idea or already built or wants to build something or has built something, let me know. I can put you in touch with some of the sort of the incubators and VCs that are in Nigeria. One of them that just launched in Nigeria, I think last year is a company called Techstars. Now, Techstars is one of the leading accelerator programs for startups in the whole world. They just launched recently their African office and it's based in Lagos. And what they do is I believe every 6 months or is it every year, they typically have like a cohort of startups. They take like between 10 to 20 or 15 or is it 20 startups. You go through their program, they help you with your pitch, your product and marketing and all of that. They package you and then they give you almost $120,000. And then they put you in front of VCs. And what happens is that because VCs know that you've gone through Techstars, you've gone through the accelerator program, and they believe you've been baked and cooked and you're now ready and all of that, then VCs can then invest in you. And yeah, you're right. VC's ecosystem is not ripe in Nigeria, but hopefully we're getting there. And oh, by the way, you don't only need to raise money in Nigeria. If you have a good startup, you can raise money abroad. There was a Nigerian guy here in Calgary that actually raised $2 million. He raised $2 million and he created a health tech. His idea or value proposition is that he wants to help Nigeria and Africans digitize their health record. So he was able to create that app and he got $2 million. Yep, Simon, go ahead.
Okay, man, you're
yeah, go ahead.
You're dropping a lot of gems. Like you're dropping like diamonds, gold, like
free, right?
everything, man. As in, my head is just busting. You know, um. So right now, like someone like me,
Yep.
I just want to know, man. Like I I just I just want to put my money somewhere where it's gonna like just give me like 1,000% returns. You understand? So like
Okay.
what on advise me. I've been coming to you, if you know, for like the past 5, 6, 7 years. So,
No.
talk to me. Talk to me.
So wait, you're saying you want to know where you can put your money and make 10x, or what did you say?
Yes, 10x, 50x,
Simon,
100x,
sorry,
100x.
Mikael, let me answer him quickly. Simon, you can just go and do blood money.
Please, Simon, don't do that.
If
Don't
if okay, if I may, if
Sorry,
sorry,
Okay.
let me
Yeah.
add. Armed robbery is also very lucrative this time of year. You can invest in a few weapons and you get 10x.
No, I mean,
Since
please.
you want
So
since you want to rob, you just want Mikael to give you. If Mikael had the answer to the question, do you think he'll be here giving us VC presentation?
Okay, wait.
no,
okay,
First of all,
okay, guys. If I think we
the current
wait.
bond rate and treasury rates in Nigeria. So, because at least we can start from there, to know what that is like the minimal level, and then from there we can say, okay, above that is acceptable, right?
All right. So Simon, just to quickly answer your question, yes, absolutely. There are investment opportunities that you can actually make 10 times, in fact, 50 times what you've invested in. And the only sector that you can actually get that kind of return is actually in the VC ecosystem, in startup investing. However, this is the same ecosystem where you can lose all of your money in an instance. If you put your money in real estate, you can get incremental values over the next, over the course of that real estate. If you invest in the stock market, you will get steady and continuous increment in your investment. Yes, stock market does crash once in a while, but even when it crashes, like I keep advising you, Simon, you add more of those stocks. When the thing bounces back, you make more money. Yes, and that's stable. You won't have heart attack. But in the VC space, you can put your money there, and then 2 years later, you hear that the company you invested in, the founder went to go and marry one Nollywood actress and squandered all the money, which happened recently in Nigeria. And all of a sudden, all your money is gone. So the VC space or the startup investment space, it is the riskiest form of investment, but at the same time, it is the most lucrative form of investment. Now, to give you an idea, the guys who invested in ChatGPT, there are people that invested, just a couple of thousands of dollars when it was at an ideation stage. Basically, I still talking about they've not built anything. But as of today, if you invested in ChatGPT when that guy was just gisting about it in his parlor with his friends, if you invested then in ChatGPT, today you will have made more than 100 times of whatever it is that you put in there. The same thing goes for I think it's Slack. I believe it was either Slack or so, where investors in Slack actually made 40 times what they invested in that company. And the reason is simple. When I come to you with an idea and I say, hey, Simon, I want you to invest in my idea. This is the idea. It's going to revolutionize the world and all that. That idea at that particular stage is worth zero. No market capital, no market value for that as of that time. If you now say, okay, Mikael, I believe in you, take this 10,000 naira or this 1 million naira, go and run with it. Now, if I go and create that product, create that idea, solve the problem, and then all of a sudden, 2-3 years down the line, I have like a whole bunch of customers, and then VCs are like, hey, this Mikael's idea is amazing. By that time, because I already have customers and I'm already making revenue already, when VCs come, I can say, hey, Mr. VC, this product or my company, as of today, I'm making, let's say, 50 million per year. However, in the next 5 years or in the next 2-3 years, I'm going to be making like, let's say, $500 million or $1 billion $1 billion naira every year. So because of that, my company is now valued at, let's say, 10 billion naira or something like that. Now, any VC that wants to invest in us will have to invest at that valuation of 10 billion naira, or we can have an agreement, an arrangement, we can go back and forth, and then we will land on a particular valuation. What then happens is that your 1 million that you gave me when the company was zero, today now, the company is now worth, let's say, 10 billion naira, for example. That your 1 million can automatically now become 100 million naira. And then that's just over a course of 1 or 2 or 3 years, give or take. So yes, you can make a whole lot of money, but at the same time, if I collected that 1 million naira now and I just disappear, or I did not disappear, I went and did I went and created the product, but people did not like it, or maybe I don't know what happened. I went and married 4 wives, and I could not cater for them. I used your money to take care of all of them, and your money is gone. You won't be able to catch me, because and that's the other thing about VC ecosystem or startup ecosystem. When VCs are investing or angels are investing, you cannot sue that founder if he actually did the work, but the business still fails. He tried his best, so you can't sue him. And that's why people who have religious affiliations like Muslims typically like VCs, because VCs don't take interest. They just give you the money, and then they take ownership. They take part ownership of your company. So there's no interest. They share in your liability, they share in your profit, and all that. David?
Okay, thank you very much, Mikail and everyone, for your questions. I actually wanted to add a suggestion, though I'm also concluding now. I think we've really run far as time is concerned. Since Simon has said he has money and he's looking for where to invest, and Mikail, you mentioned that you are thinking of bringing more VCs into the African space. So let's solve a Nigerian problem. Yeah, in fact, let's be more local. Let's solve an ExJAM problem. So when you have set up your structures, and I'm sure you would need investors. Simon has money. Simon, we are going to collect your money, and we're going to use it to fund ExJAM businesses. The purpose of this whole exercise is so that we have more entrepreneurs in-house, so that more of our people will be employed and we'll all be better off. So let's improve the community. So I'll hold you to that promise. Simon, you're our first investor already for our ExJAM Community VC Fund. Mikail will handle the structures. And hopefully when my people have organized themselves and they have pitches, we know where to find you.
Yep, absolutely. And I am all for that. And like I said, you don't only raise money from Nigeria, you can raise money globally from different VCs all over the world. And yeah, I will be more than willing to put you people in front of the right investors.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so your other speakers raised this hand. Okay, so Tijani, just share what you have so then we can round up the session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I was just going to quickly say, if you look at the angle that we've been coming from, Mikael, this thing I'm talking about is a recurrent angle, right? So you see, the best thing that we have to do as VC guys and project managers, all of those things, is that we should tell and learn to teach a lot of people on how to do a lot of due diligence. Somebody like Simon, for instance, he doesn't know how to do due diligence. He's going to come back to you next year and he's going to ask you the same question, right? For instance, Oga Hamza said, you see, he was trying to dabble in between, a particular kind of sphere. I also feel that, a lot of things were not properly done. I will tell you one quick this thing before I just drop the mic. One guy reached out to me. They built a product, a fintech product, yeah, and then he said, okay, he wants me to join their team and all of that. I said, okay. By the time I got to the table, I realized that they built a product without properly understanding the market. How did you do that? That's totally wrong. You went to go and build a product without understanding the market that you are building it for. You are going to crash. By the time I went back, I started building and doing documentation. They thought maybe I was just trying to be wicked to them, By the time I was telling them that, oh, okay, how are you building everything? How are you doing your risk analysis and all of these things? You have to learn before you invest your money anywhere. Learn to do the proper due diligence, and that will save you and any other person who is a venture capitalist like Mikail himself to not be losing money anyhow. Thank you.
And TJ, let me just add just one thing to what TJ said. TJ, you're spot on. And like you said, TJ, there's this popular saying in the VC ecosystem, which is exactly what these guys you talked about did. They are basically wasting their time thinking they are creating a product or solving a problem. Now, as a VC, if you come to me looking that way, In the VC ecosystem, what we call that is that what we see is that if you can waste your time doing all of that without customer feedback, customer, all those things that we talked about, if you're wasting your time going through all of that to build that product, then you will definitely be wasting my own money if I give you my money. So as a VC, in fact, 2 minutes on the call, I'll be dropping off the call that these guys are not even serious. If I'm being nice, I can stay on the call, after the whole call, I'll drop, and then I will never, in fact, next time you send me email, I'll just put it going straight to junk mail. Yeah, Tosin, you're on mute if you're saying anything. No?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Another thing I'd just like to add is patience. We're talking about investments in businesses. Everybody's looking for the one that is going to grow 10x. Patience is key. The example you used for the people who are first investors in ChatGPT, go back and ask them how long it took them for that investment to bear fruit. The first job I took in 2011, the consulting departments were working on, privatization of power plants, Kirigu, power plants, and others. Those investments that they were doing due diligence on is now that Transcor's power subsidiary is coming to the market, and everybody's saying, "Oh yes, they have assets like Gerigo and Co in their portfolio." That's 2011 to 2023, right? That is a lot of patience that's required to be able to be sure that you are investing correctly and you have covered as much basis as possible. In life, you really can't know all, right? But you have to cover as much of the basis as possible. So patience is required. Investing is not something that you go in January and by June you are seeing 10x. If it happens that way, you were lucky. Do you understand? So patience is something that we all should inculcate when we're making investing decisions.
Absolutely, Tosin. Yeah, thanks, Tosin. You're spot on, and that's why I mentioned that VC is typically or startup ecosystem. If you ever get your profit or you ever get your money back and all that, you're looking at anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So it is not like an immediate thing. You're looking anywhere from 5 to 10 years. You're only lucky if, let's say, in a year or two, a VC comes across and says, "Hey, I want to buy you out," because they call it in VC term, we call it cleaning the cap table, basically cleaning the ownership of the company. So if I'm a VC and I come in, I want to invest in a company, and I see that the company already has like 10 investors or 20 investors, maybe 98 set invested in one company and the company did well, and then a VC came in, wants to invest, and the VC is seeing 50 people from 98 set invested in this company. What as a VC, what I'll do is I'll say, "Hey, look, you know what? I want to clean this cap table. Oh yeah, all of you guys, you invested 1 million each. I want to buy all of you out. I can then give all of you 3 million or 5 million or something like that and say, "Oh yeah, all of you carry your bags and go." What that helps me do is that it makes me reduce the ownership of the company and allows for a better controlling stake of that company. So if you're lucky, that happens, great. You get an early exit. Otherwise, you have to be patient. And that's why I said startup investing is not for everyone. It takes a while. If you need the money in the next year or two, don't invest in startup. But if it's the money that you can invest and forget about it, and then you can go ahead and invest in startup. Yeah, David.
Okay, once again, thank you very much, Mikail. Thank you, Tijani, Mukthar, for the presentations we've had today. It's from even the comments, I can see that everybody has been truly beneficial for most of us that are able to attend. I also want to thank everyone who stayed on, the senior ExJAM, senior ExJAW, and the large representation I can see from 98 sets. Like you all came to support your classmates. Now, well done. And also the other gentlemen and ladies who were able to join us. We appreciate your taking your time out to attend this session. So once the recordings are done, we will share it through our usual channels. Let me just make a quick announcement. Interscholar competition, Abuja chapter is happening in November. We have shared form. You people should sign up for sports so that you can represent your squadron well. We will have a champion squadron at the end of the event. No more people claiming.
Am I invited?
If you can, no problem. No problem. We have no problem with. So far, you're an ExJAM or an ExJO, you can participate. You don't have to be a member of Abuja chapter.
Champion squadron.
So I can't imagine. Is there a first squadron that I thought? Don't even speak here. So we will resolve this matter of champion squadron once and for all at the end of our interscholar competition. So please prepare, fill the form, participate. Once again, thank you everyone. And I think with this I can. Oh, sorry. Before I end, special appreciation to Ogasariki Ayote. He has been our host. So all the achievements we are making now are on the shoulders and support we have enjoyed from him. So we truly appreciate that, and we don't take that for granted. So once again, everyone have a nice day. And
David,
sir.
No, just a quick one before you say bye to everyone.
Go ahead.
Can I go? Yeah, I just wanted to just quickly appreciate the the Abuja chapter, because apart from the North American Center, I think we do things like this as well, but not all the chapters that I'm aware of, do this kind of learning series and all that. And I just want to give a big kudos to the folks in Abuja. You guys are doing a great job, and our guys that are here that they've been here since the beginning and they stay to the end. Thank you very much. All of us ExJAMs and ExJAWs really appreciate the opportunity to be able to, present to you guys, and really proud of what you are doing in Abuja. Please, let's keep it up. And I must also add, my Oyinbo people here and other people, they're actually jealous of, what we are doing, even though they don't know FMS and, FJMS, because they're like high school. I was talking to someone yesterday and they're like, you still keep in touch with your high school, with your high school folks and all that. I was like, yes, that's how good we are. So thank you very much for, keeping the flag flying and, for organizing this.
All right, now. Thanks very much, Mikail. Okay, everyone. I think with that, we can, as we say in AFMS, your rooms fall out. Have a nice day.
Bye, everyone.
All right, bye.
Female stamp pass.
Oh, God.
Thank you, guys. Nice one. Oh yeah, lights out. Switch off.